Okay, so very good afternoon. Now, we are going to continue our discussion. In third lecture, we have seen that how we can develop a good performance management system and what are its characteristics. Now, in this lecture basically we are going to talk about performance management process, that how do we go about it when it comes to managing performance. Now, here what we are going to discuss is that okay, how we are going to manage the performance of the individual, group or the organization, but main focus here is on individual performance. Now, if you look at this, we are going to start with the first stage, that is called prerequisite, and then we have to see that what are the things that is required to start with, and then we move to the planning stage, then execution, then we are going to assess. After assessing, we are going for review, and then we see that based on this review what is to be done, whether we are going to renew with the same performance or we are going to recontract. It means that whether we are going to change anything so far as targets and other things are concerned. Now, based on this, then again we move to the first stage, that is prerequisite. Prerequisite, you see it, this is kept in bold. The idea here is that this is the most important thing in the process. This is the first stage, and then we move to planning, execution, assessment and other stages, right. So, what we are going to discuss is that at what are the different stages and at each stage what is the requirement. So, we will take up one by one each of these stages or the processes and we will discuss them. So, we start with the first stage, that is what we call the process, right. Now, before we start discussing about it, I am giving you some examples, right. Like Pfizer is a pharmaceutical organization, okay, and if you look at this example, it talks about the performance management process of this organization. Now, if you look at this performance management process of this company, it starts with what? They have a performance plan, okay, which is related to development, then moving to review, and this based on this review they are going to decide about the compensation. Now, if you look at it in the middle, you will find coaching and feedback. It means that on a regular basis feedback and coaching is provided at each and every stage. Why I am giving this example? To explain you that how this process works. So, before you go for performance planning, you are going to decide about certain things, then there also you have to provide feedback, then how this performance planning is being developed and implemented by the organization. Okay. What I am talking about, that how we are going to have a good performance management system that you are going to develop, okay. And then based on that you are developing certain standards for evaluation, implementing that, and once it is implemented you are going to review the performance, and based on that you are going to compensate people. It means that performance is also linked with reward, and you also have a system, inbuilt system of providing feedback at each and every stage. There is another example. Okay. This is a government organization, a defense and aerospace supplier. Now, if you look at this is a big organization. Now, if you look at this, okay, there are three things that they do. Okay. What they do to start with, first of all, that set the goals, okay, because these goals are going to use as a criteria. Then based on that, once system is implemented, they monitor the performance on a regular basis, okay, and the goals also used to evaluate the performance, and the evaluation is linked with the reward. Now, the why I am giving you these examples, just to explain that how we go about performance development process or performance management process. This is more specifically related to that how we go about developing the performance of performance management system. Now, moving to the first stage, you remember we said that okay, there are certain prerequisites before we move to discuss about a performance management system, and these two prerequisites include that when the stakeholders, the line managers, the HR managers, the top managements, whosoever is involved in implementing a good and effective management system, I mean performance management system, they should have a good knowledge of the organizational mission and goals and objectives, and they also have good knowledge of the job. So, for first you have to see, you have to know about the strategies, goals and objectives of the organization, and for the second part you have to go for a thorough job analysis looking into job description, because that is going to provide you a basis for identifying tasks and duties. Now, the first thing is knowledge of organizational goals and mission. Here you are a part of the strategic planning process, because when I am talking about performance management, it has a strategic role in contributing to the performance of the people, groups and the organization. Now, if you are considering performance management system as a good plan for yourself, so you need to develop strategies that how to devise a good and effective performance appraisal system. Now, in order to have a good performance management system, what you need to do is that you have to see that what are your strategy for planning of the performance. And you know that before we go about strategy, you have to decide about what is your vision, what is your mission, what are the goals and objectives that you want to achieve, right. Because in a strategic planning, basically you decide about what would be your strategy to achieve the goals and objectives of the organization. But before that, you must clear your vision and mission, that is you need to identify the purpose or reason for existence, right. What for this organization is. For example, suppose if I am talking about IIT Kharagpur, so we can say yes, the objective or the you can say the purpose or the reason for existing of IIT Kharagpur is to provide best quality people in the field of engineering and science. Suppose we say, it means that the idea here is to tell or communicate that okay, what is the purpose of this organization. Now another thing that is related to it is that what is its vision. Okay. So, where it wants to be in future. Suppose I say that yes, IIT Kharagpur is in the top 500 organizations or technical institutions in the world. Now, from 500 you want to move to say 200. So, within 200. So, this is the goals that you want to achieve. Okay. Now, in order to achieve these goals, you are going to have certain strategies, so that you are able to achieve it. Now, if you want to have this kind of goal at the top level, then you have to see that this becomes your organizational goal. Now, this organizational goal is further percolates down, cascade down to the units or the department goal, where you are going to identify yes, this is the goal of the unit or the department, and then these unit or department goals are further percolated down at the individual level, where you are going to decide about the individual goals. And then you have to see that it is aligned. It means the individuals are going to contribute to the department or units, and the units or departments are going to contribute to the organizational goals. So, this kind of alignment is very important, and that is why we call it an strategic alignment. They must be congruent and aligned with each other, so that everybody is going to contribute at their level to contribute to the growth and development of the organization, right. So, it is very important that those stakeholders who are involved in the process of devising a good management system, performance management system, they know about it. Another important issue is that yes, they also understand the job, okay, which is done through job analysis. Okay. Now, when I am talking about job analysis, it has two contents, that is job description, job specification, right. So, when I am talking about job description specifically, we are referring to what? Tasks, duties, responsibilities, which a person is supposed to have in a given job, right. That is job description. Similarly, in order to perform these tasks, duties and responsibilities, he need to have certain knowledge and skill. So, that is known as KSAs, or knowledge, skill and abilities, that is required to perform the particular job. Now, job description and job specification both are important. So, when you are going to design a performance management system, this provides you a input or you can say tool for identifying what is that you are going to measure in terms of performance, because you are going to perform a job. So, you will be evaluated on the basis of what you do, and what you do comes from job analysis, that is job description and job specification. And in order to see that what a person does, you are going to observe it, or you are going for interviewing or using questionnaires to identify what is the job description, that is tasks, duties and responsibilities associated with the job. Similarly, you also need to identify what is the basis of knowledge and skill which is required, because you need to match the person with the job, right. For example, if I am going to teach a course on HR, it means that I must have enough knowledge or have the skill and abilities to teach this course. Okay. So, if I am going to teach a course, say performance management, so that become a part of my duty and responsibility. Now, in order to teach this performance management course, I should have a specialization in performance management broadly under the human resource management, and then I must be experienced enough to teach this course, right. So, you are matching both the job and the person to ensure that the job is performed effectively, and since this provides the input, it is very, very important to see that job description and job specification is carried out, and not only this, but you also need to understand the environment in which this is to be carried out, because the environment is acting as an enabler to perform well, and in order to get data on this, you are using certain methods like interviews, observations and other things, so that you can get information about the job and the person. Now, when you are going to conduct job analysis, you need to ensure that it is free from any kind of biases or errors. So, we need to remove certain biases in conducting job analysis. For example, if I am going to conduct job analysis for a faculty, we can say that okay, these are the duties and responsibilities, like duties include teaching, okay, doing research, right, taking up assignments, consulting assignments, right, taking up projects. In addition to these duties and responsibilities, he also has a certain other things like administrative responsibilities could be there. Okay. He could be a professor in charge, he could be a warden, these kind of things, right. So, which forms the part of the job description. Now, in order to perform this, you need certain KSAs, that is knowledge, skill and attitude, because that is going to help you to perform your job effectively. Now, when you are going to conduct job analysis for a faculty, so what are the problems that may come up? So, these problems include self-serving biases and social projection and false consensus biases. What is self-serving bias? It means if you are going to be affected by these kind of biases, then you are going to report basically your own behavior and personality traits, right, which is required for successful job, right, compared to the behavior and personality of others. So, basically you are going to propagate yourself more when you are going to conduct this job analysis, that should be avoided. Okay. Now, you should also think about it that you are not going to ensure that people are similar to you, because that is not possible. So, each people is different. So, they are going to behave differently. Okay. So, this kinds of false consensus should not be there and you should not project it, because social projection and false consensus bias basically talks about these things, where people believe that others are similar to them, while the fact is that it may not be true. People may be different, even if people doing the same kind of job could be different. Okay. What you are going to match here is not the traits and personality of the people, but you are going to ensure that those traits and personalities which are related with the performance, right, only that is to be covered, so that you can remove the biases related to these factors. Now, when it comes to providing a common frame to all the raters, it means that those who are evaluating performance, okay, you should tell them that how you are going to evaluate the performance. Okay. So, the raters of performance, especially supervisors, okay, they should know that how they are going to rate each dimension, right. I will give an example here. Say you want to evaluate the performance using certain rating scales. Say for example, if you are moving and you are going to have a rating scale which could be a 5-point scale starting with 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay. Say a particular dimension. Okay. related to rating. Suppose you want to measure punctuality. Okay. So, this is going to say that how punctual you are, starting with not at all, right, to very punctual. Now, this is the rating. So, you need to give certain points, okay, somewhat punctual, you can write that. Okay. Here you are average punctual, yes, more or less your punctual level is standard. Okay. Good, so far as punctuality is concerned, or here you are 100%, or you can also say like 20%, 40%, 60% if you are going for grading, 80% or 100% punctual. Because if you are clearing all these dimensions, then it would be easy for raters to understand whether he is going to provide 1 point or 2 point or 3 point or whatever it is. But if you are not able to do it, probably it is not possible for you to understand these kind of things. Okay. So, it is very very important that raters understand that how the rating is to be done, okay, so that they can go for these kind of things. Okay. So, you have to provide raters with each rating dimension, that is very very important, and then also define the scale rankers, how it is going to start, okay, which dimensions to be rated. Then you also describe behaviors which are indicative of each dimension. For example, in the case that I have given, that I told you that okay, if you say 1, it means your punctuality level is very less or 20%. Okay. If you say 4, it means that on an average 80% punctuality is achieved by the person, right. Similarly, if you take any dimension which is used for measuring performance, you need to describe behaviors. It means that you need to not only provide a level, but you also need a description for the level when it comes to rating. And then raters should practice it before they actually start rating, so that they know what they are doing. Okay. And then they can be given feedback and how the rating is, whether they are accurate, whether it is standard, whether it is going to be reliable and valid. Remember, we talked about these points related to a effective performance management system. So, accuracy and fairness is one such dimension which comes from raters. So, we need to ensure that raters are clear about it. Now, apart from that, you also need to plan the performance, right. So, after discussing these two prerequisites, that is knowledge of the organization mission and strategies and knowledge of the job, then we move to next stage, that is performance planning. And at this stage, basically this is the first stage in performance cycle. So, you need to plan about the performance, and here the line managers along with the supervisors, or if you need, you can also invite or include HR managers, where they discuss the agenda, what needs to be achieved, right, in terms of goals and objectives that is to be achieved and how it is to be achieved. So, what is to be discussed in the beginning by the supervisors and the managers is agreeing upon a particular goal and how it is to be achieved, right. For example, a sales manager plan about the performance of the sales force by inviting them and having a discussion about deciding, okay, this is the total sales output that is to be achieved, okay, and how it is going to be distributed across sales force, and then what each individual need to achieve in terms of sales targets and how they are going to achieve this. So, the discussion related to performance plan has to have consideration related to both the results and the behavior, because you require certain targets, sales target that comes under results, and in order to achieve these sales target, what kind of behavior would be required. For example, if you take the case of the sales people, then what are the qualities that would be required in addition to achieving the goals and objectives? That is, he should have good communication skill, good interpersonal relationship, he should be good in negotiation, right, he should be able to persuade people, right, only then he would be able to achieve the targets, right, frequently follow up everything that is going on. So, these are the behaviors, okay, which is required in addition to the targets, which has to be discussed, okay, these are the things that needs to be required for planning the performance, right. So, when we are talking about the results, that is the outcome, for example, sales targets like key accountabilities, specific objectives and performance standards. So, what we are going to discuss now, that what comes under results, that is key accountability, specific objectives and performance standards, and then we will talk about what comes under behaviors. So, to start with, first we will talk about performance results. Now, key accountabilities include what? That it basically examines that what are the things you are responsible for in order to produce the result, right. When it comes to specific objectives, right, you have to be very specific in terms of identifying what are the objectives as a part of the accountability, okay, which is important and measurable, okay. And then third part is standards, how we are going to evaluate it. Okay. So, you need to provide certain norms. For example, if you are able to achieve 60% of your target, would you call it an average performance or standard performance, or would you achieve 80% that is used as a yardstick to evaluate your sales target, then you call it a performance standard. So, it means that you need to define the performance standard. Okay. So, suppose you are able to sell x units of a product, then you are meeting performance standards. Okay. Now, how well you have achieved these performance standards related to each objective, okay, and make sure that it is acceptable to the supervisors or line managers. Okay. And this performance standards actually is measured in terms of what you call quantity, quality, cost, time. It means that you have achieved within a given time frame, the quality standards are met, the quantity of units that you are going to sell is there, okay, and it is cost effective, right. So, performance standard is measured along these dimensions to ensure that results is measured. Now, in addition to performance, you are also going to measure the behavior, and when we are talking about behavior, it says that how you are going to perform the job, right. So, it includes your competencies, the knowledge and skill that you have, okay, like knowledge, skill and attitude, which is critical in determining how results will be achieved. For example, as I told you that in order to achieve the sales target, say x, what kind of competencies you need. So, it includes say good product knowledge, right, technical details of the product, that is one or two, then good interpersonal skill, good communication skill, negotiating activities, right. So, this could be the behavioral competencies. So, you need to identify those competencies of behavior as a part of your knowledge, skill and attitude, which is critical in examining how the results will be achieved. So, if you have these competencies at a standard level, then it would help you to achieve the sales target. Okay. So, I am not saying that result is not important, because that is to be ultimately achieved, but this result has to be achieved through your behavior or competencies, which is a part of your knowledge and skill and attitude. So, that is to be defined, okay, these are the competencies in standard terms that is to be required by a individual to perform his job effectively. Moving from behavior as a performance, then once you have identified what kind of behavior and results is to be required, then you have a development plan, okay, performance development plan. Okay. It means you also see, okay, whether you have these behaviors in you or not. Okay. Suppose you say that you are not a good negotiator, or you are not able to pursue people, or you are not able to convince people. So, this could not be a desired behavior that is required for a sales people job, right. So, you discuss with your manager and identify that, okay, these are the areas where the person is not good and they need improvement, because if it is not there, then he will not be able to achieve the goals and objectives. So, you also identify those areas which need improvement, because he has a good technical knowledge about the product, okay. He can specify it very well, he can communicate it very well, but when it comes to negotiation and persuasion, he is not good. So, it means that is the area that need improvement, so that he can achieve the targets. Now, this development plan include both the results and the behavior. So, you need to ensure that the technical part as well as the behavioral part is taken care if there is a lack, in the sense that if in certain areas the person is not capable enough, then he would be able to improve upon that. After the performance development has happened, then you move to the next stage, it means that you are going to execute it. Okay. It means you have a development plan, you have already decided about what is to be achieved. It means that after the prerequisite you have planned about the performance. Now, it comes to implementation stage. At this stage, what actually you are going to do is that you are going to see that people are going to actually perform the job and achieve the goals and targets that is given to them. So, that could be used for the evaluation. Now, what is required at this stage? When you are going to execute certain things, there are certain things that is required by the individual on their part, like you must be committed to the goal. It means that once you have decided with your supervisor about the goals and objectives, it means that you should engage yourself in achieving those goals and objectives which have been set for you, right. So, on the part of the individual, you have to say that you continuously make effort, okay, try to use your knowledge and skill base in order to perform your job to the best of your knowledge and skill. Okay. And then you also show some kind of commitment and engagement to the job, so that you are able to perform, that is more important. In addition to that, line managers are responsible to ensure that regular feedback is given to the employees. Now, when I am talking about the second point, it means that it is the responsibility of the supervisors and line managers to give regular feedback, because this feedback would help individuals to understand what is their level of achievement of performance, okay, what else they need to do. And then if they are not able to reach to the performance level within a given time frame, then top management or line managers can also think about coaching them, that how to improve their performance within the given time frame. Okay. So, that is the responsibility of the supervisors in executing the performance. Now, third point is that yes, you need to communicate with your supervisors on a regular basis. If you have any problems, any hassles, any barriers, okay, if you need certain support in terms of equipment, resources, technology, then it is the responsibility of the supervisor to provide all kind of things to you, so that you are able to do your job effectively. Okay. And finally, you need to share data with your subordinates. This is for line managers. So, line managers are going to look at your performance and they are going to share this data with their subordinates. See, this is how we are going to perform, and part of that is review. So, ultimately looking at this performance data, you are going to review the performance. It means that both the supervisors and subordinates must get ready to see that how well they have performed, what are the reasons for bad performance, okay, why they have been able to achieve the level of performance either good or bad, and why it has happened. So, this is the performance execution stage. Okay. Now, both supervisors and line managers have the responsibilities. Now, when I am talking about supervisors, what is their job when it comes to executing performance? So, let us be more clear about it. That is that yes, supervisors regularly observe and document the performance on a regular basis, so that they know how well they are performing. They should provide regular update about the objectives, standards and accountabilities. They should also give feedback about the performance, right, and they should provide all the resources which is required to perform well, okay. And then they encourage people to perform better and better, right. So, supervisor has a responsibility. See, most of the points we have discussed earlier also, like what is the responsibility of the supervisors. So, supervisors are supposed to provide feedback on a regular basis, they are supposed to provide reinforce, they are supposed to provide all kind of direction, help and encouragement which is required, right, and also reinforce effective behaviors by providing them suitable rewards, and then they should go for documentation on a regular basis to ensure that they are going to be factual and honest in the reporting of the performance. Similarly, line managers employees also have the responsibility to communicate and share everything and then ask for help whenever it is required. So, moving from performance execution, now the performance has taken place, then it is the time for assessment. So, in this assessment phase, you are going to see that how well the person has performed in terms of both the results and behaviors. So, employees and managers both are the part of the process of evaluation related to result as well as behaviors. Now, in this assessment you are going to see that the extent to which the goals have been achieved as per the development plan, okay, and the extent to which they take ownership or responsibility for achieving or not achieving the goals and objectives. So, the managers and subordinates both should actively participate in the process to ensure that the assessment has done fairly, it is accurate, it is reliable and valid, and in the process we are also including employees and provide them an opportunity, listen to them, because they would be in a better position to tell you why it has happened. If you do not include them in the evaluation process, what happens? They become defensive, because then they will try and attribute these performance to external factors, okay, not to them, and they would blame others, not to themselves. So, it is very important to ensure that they do not become defensive when this review happens, and if they are included in the process, probably you are going to be much more secure and safe, and it is going to be more accurate assessment of the performance of the employees. So, when it comes to review, so make sure that it is very productive. Okay. So, you are able to identify whether performance is good or bad depending on the objectives and what kind of behaviors you are relating with good and bad performance, positive behaviors as well as negative behaviors. Okay. You are getting feedback from the employees, you are going to listen for feedback in terms of reactions and explanations, why they have performed well or why they have not performed well. Look at their reactions, ask for an explanations for them for good or bad performance, okay, and how this change in the behavior, okay, is going to ensure that later on they are going to perform well. Okay. So, the idea is to communicate employees during the review session that they know what is their performance, and if it is a poor performance, what are the things that they need to do or improve in order to bring about change in the behavior, right. You also need to explain that okay, what kind of behavior was expected from you in the past and what kind of behavior is required in the future, and what are your problems related to performance, right. So, in the review session what actually happens, again you go for developing an action plan where you want employees to improve his efforts, right, so that he improves his performance, and you also get idea from employees that what needs to be done in order to improve the performance, and finally you go for a follow up and monitoring to ensure that you are able to do it. And finally, this is the last stage, that renewal and recontracting. Okay. So, whatever insight or data input you have got, based on that you again move to the setting and goals for the next performance cycle. So, in performance renewal, once the entire process completes, you got the feedback, based on that again you are going to set the goals for the next performance cycle based on the feedback that you have received. Okay. So, that you are going for a recontract for the next performance cycle, right. Thank you very much.